Walgreens won't sell abortion pills in some states where they're legal, including states like Alaska, Iowa, Kansas, and Montana, where the pharmacy has faced legal threats. California also protested this decision on yesterday. Medical abortions now account for over 50% of illegal abortions across the United States. The Pentagon and FBI helped research facial recognition for street cameras. The agencies work with academic researchers to develop software that could quickly analyze footage from public places, according to documents released as part of a lawsuit. The files reveal new details about a powerful tool that could track Americans without their awareness or consent. No federal laws regulate how facial recognition systems can be used. And we keep getting more and more information about the shenanigans, I should call it, going on at Fox News as it relates to their anchors and hosts in this Dominion $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit that's been filed against Fox News. We've just learned that 2 months after the election and just days before January 6th, Fox host Tucker Carlson texted with an unknown Fox employee about how badly he wanted to stop covering Trump. According to those text messages and the Washington Post report, Tucker Carlson said, quote, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights." This is a text from Tucker Carlson on January 4th, 2021. He says, "I truly can't wait. I hate him passionately." We'll continue to watch the fallout from this defamation lawsuit that has the potential of tanking the Fox News broadcast. And our justice correspondent, Dion Raymond, will join us momentarily. This is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. In this second hour, it's all about the housing market and African Americans. The gap in terms of home ownership between Blacks and whites continues to get wider and wider. We're going to be asking one of the nation's leading experts on housing and race what is causing this gap to continue to grow. And we're also going to be talking to a real estate agent who's a recent homeowner. She actually became a real estate agent to purchase her own home. But before we get to that story about the gap in the home ownership between Blacks and whites, our justice correspondent, Dion Raymond, is outside the courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. She just stepped out of the courthouse and is on the courtroom steps to give us the latest in the trial, the United States versus Mark Ridley Thomas. This is day one. Welcome, Dion.
Hi, Areva. How are you?
Fantastic. I know you have been in court since early this morning, and court that will usually end around 2:30 on most days, went all the way until 5 o'clock today. Tell us what happened on day one of this trial.
Yes, Areva, it went longer than expected because the judge really wanted to have the jury impaneled and sworn in, and so that the trial can really be underway, full swing tomorrow morning. Today's activities went as one would expect. It was pretty uneventful. The judge summarized the allegations and introduced the charges, but the majority of the day, Areva, was spent picking the jury. The judge asked most of the questions, and attorneys for both sides did get in their questions as well. But it was a not more tedious than any other jury selection, but mindful and careful, and it went along that way.
And we know in federal court cases, or we want folks to understand, in federal court cases, this voir dire, or this process that is used to select jurors, the judge does most of the questioning, whereas in state court cases, typically the lawyers are much more active, much more involved, and typically you get to see those lawyers in action. I know you just said that in this case, because it's a federal case, the judge asked most of the questions, but did you get a chance to see the lawyers engage at all with the jurors? And if so, what can you tell us about the lawyers that are representing both the United States of America, the U.S. attorneys, and then those defense attorneys representing LA City Council member Mark Ridley Thomas?
Yes, good question, Areva. The judge did ask the majority of the questions. I imagine that a lot of those questions were previously worked on and decided by both sides, and the judge was looking for information to see whether or not there are jurors who may have had, feelings that might interfere with their ability to consider all of the evidence fairly and impartially and not make a decision in advance. Didn't get to see really, Areva, too much of the attorneys. For the government, they did ask some questions. They seemed to be particularly interested in one potential juror who volunteered for a homeless shelter. But other than that, it was really pretty quiet on both sides.
Tell us about the racial mix as well as the gender and age mix of the jury that was impaneled.
The majority of those who were questioned and impaneled, Reva, are people of color. And by my count, it appears that there's a majority of women. Some of it was difficult to see because we were actually in another courtroom looking via a monitor. But I would say that the majority are women, perhaps 7 women to 5 men. And for the alternates, there are 6. 5 are men, 1 female.
Mm. What about their ages, Deanna? I know you were in a separate courtroom today, as you just said. Tomorrow, you will actually be sitting in that courtroom where the opening statements will be given. The court needed the space today because of the jurors, but we know you're going to be watching, gavel to gavel, what's happening inside that actual courtroom. But talk to us about the ages of the jurors to the best of your ability. I mean, are they under 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 70?
I'm going to say 30 to 50. There really weren't many seniors from what I can tell from my vantage point. Once we get into the courtroom, Areva, where the trial is taking place, I'll be able to see better. But the majority of them, I would say, are 30 to 50. Easily.
And did the court set any rules about the opening statements? Do we expect them to last the entire day tomorrow, or do you expect them to be wrapped up in the morning and for the first witness to take the witness stand tomorrow afternoon?
Areva, I think this is a judge who is going to move things along. She didn't say anything about opening statements as yet. She ended with instructing the jury about what they can do, what they can't do. They can't talk about the case or discuss the case, do any experiments, things of that nature, typical instructions. And I believe tomorrow morning that she will just, at the top of the morning, that she will get right into it. The attorneys and party are asked to be back at 7:45, told the jurors that they will start promptly at 8 o'clock, and I have no reason to believe that she does not intend to follow that schedule. One
last question, Deanna, it's about, there's an article that's circulating on the internet where the judge issued an order saying that the defense team could not use the internet to research any of the jurors. Speak to us briefly about that order and what that means for the defense team.
Well, Areva, she did not discuss that, at least not that I heard, and I was in there the whole time. So that's something that she may get into, I would, of course, outside the presence of the jury, but she may have addressed that with counsel outside of
the presence of the jury.
Court proceedings.
Right, we know
and
that
outside,
even. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say
it's not also outside the presence of the jury, but outside in chambers or sidebar.
Yeah, and we know that a lot of what happens in trials, whether it's a criminal trial or a civil trial, will happen outside of the purview of the jurors. Jurors will either be asked to leave the courtroom or lawyers will be asked to come into the court's chambers as certain issues are discussed. But again, thank you so much, Dion. Excellent coverage today. We will have you back tomorrow, 4:35. Court will end tomorrow at 2:30, and we'll be able to get you on at the appointed hour of 4:35, which is we're going to be covering this trial gavel to gavel. Your excellent insights and analysis will keep everyone up to speed. But again, thanks so much, our justice correspondent, Dion Raymond. When we come forward, we talk about the gap in home ownership between Black and white Americans. It's widened to a 10-year high. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates Women's History Month, sponsored by Walmart. As we celebrate Women's History Month this month, KBLA Talk 1580 would like to spotlight women leaders in our community who are creating positive change. If you or someone you know is making a difference in your community, please nominate them with a 50-word or less post on why you feel they should be included in the KBLA Women's Series, sponsored by Walmart. These women leaders will be featured on KBLA, interviewed on KBLA, and participate in a panel discussion hosted by Areva Martin in real time. Visit the KBLA app or log on to KBLA1580.com to nominate a woman in your community that is creating positive change. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
What do you mean he went searching for pressure powder? We have full classes today.
Instructor down at Vesper Ski School.
Toward each other to snowplow, honey, not away.
She needs more ski instructors to slalom through the day-to-day.
Pizza, fries. Whoa, really? No, pizza.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles seeks to achieve justice for people living in poverty across Greater Los Angeles. The foundation provides direct representation, offers counsel and advice, provides referrals, educates the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars, and supports individuals and families by protecting human and civil rights. To get legal help, to donate, or to volunteer, please visit lafla.org. That's lafla.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we stand with young people. We don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Over the past decade, the gap in home ownership between Black and white Americans widened to a 10-year high. A 29% gap represents the largest racial home ownership disparity in 10 years. And this is up from a 26% gap that existed in 2011. What we know is that Black buyers are more likely to be first-time home buyers. We also know that they are likely to be more sensitive to changes in mortgage interest rates. We know that's different for white buyers who are more likely to have housing equity to rely on as they make a housing trade. Meanwhile, a new report out says 8% of Black home buyers said they had experienced discrimination in a real estate transaction. Today, we're talking to Alyssa Latney. She is a realtor in the DMV area who recently purchased a home. And according to a New York Times article, she became a real estate agent in order to purchase her home. Welcome to the show, Alyssa.
Hello, thank you.
Talk to us about, first of all, you got your story featured in the New York Times. Congratulations on that. How difficult was it for you as an African-American woman to purchase a home?
It was relatively difficult. It was the saving the money part and realizing that I can no longer afford to live in DC. I had to move out of DC. The realization of that was real.
Wow. So talk to us. You live in what they call the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, commonly known as DMV. What is the average home price for a single family home in that community?
In DC, 2-bedroom, single family homes were running $330,000.
Wow. $330,000.
When I was looking, yes.
And you said that's a 2-bedroom home. So about what size is that? Like 1,200, 1,500 square feet?
About that. But they're really small.
Small 2-bedroom homes. Any kind of yard, front, backyard, anything?
You might get a front yard if you're lucky, but for a backyard, you're really just getting maybe like 7 to 10 feet, but not really much. And a lot of it is concreted out.
So if you are a family with small kids, this is definitely not going to provide a lot of play space for your small child.
No, not at all. Now, a lot of families are moving into them, but they're just dealing with it.
So you tell us your story, because what I read about your story is that you actually got your real estate license and became a realtor to help you purchase your own home. Is that how the story happened?
Yes. Originally, I wanted to purchase and own a multi-unit dwelling because my grandmother used to own property before she passed away, and she was able to pass it to my mother and her 5 siblings. So everyone had their own property. So I knew that I could do it because it was in my lineage. And then when I started to save my money and look into the market, I didn't know what I was looking at. So the best thing for me to do was to understand the market completely. So I decided to get my real estate license. And I'm a teacher, 2 masters, so I'm always a student. I've always been a student. So it wasn't much for me to just learn all I could learn.
You mentioned it being in your lineage, that your grandmother owned property. How important do you think that is when we talk about this Black-white home ownership gap? Now that you are a realtor and you are working with other people who are buying their homes, maybe some for the first time, do you find that most of the buyers that you run into are similar to you, where their mothers or fathers or grandparents actually own property? So that's a motivating factor for them to want to own property as well.
No. It sucks, but no. Majority of the people that I run into, they are the first ones in their families to purchase. And it's hard because they don't have much to start off with. It becomes overwhelming when you haven't seen anyone else doing it. Running a household is really, really difficult. And I don't know what I would do without the knowledge from my mom of how to run a household, everything that needs to happen, the money that you need to save on the side for random things that happen. Life happens, but life in a house happens extremely differently. So the fact that majority of them are first time, it's overwhelming, and a lot of them don't want to because they just see it as, I can't call my maintenance man, I can't do this, I have to take on that big burden on my own shoulders.
We're talking about home ownership and the gap between Black and white home ownership. Give us a call. If you have had an experience trying to purchase a home, you've had an experience where you felt like you were discriminated against in your effort to purchase a home, or you've struggled trying to buy a home, give us a call at 1-800-920-1580. Or if you're watching us on YouTube or on our KBLA app, post a question or a comment. We want to hear from you. Alyssa, you raise a really good point. And what you just said is consistent with what this report says, which is that white home owners typically are coming into the housing market with equity. And they have equity because someone in their family owned a home before them. And you just said that most of the Black homeowners you encounter don't have anyone in their family that has owned a home. So they're the first in their family, first generation to own a home. So that means they're not coming into it with a lot of equity, or if any equity, they're having to save that money. And you just said a house in the DMV, again, that's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, is average house is $330,000. Tell us, as a realtor, how much money would you need to be able to put down to purchase a house that costs $330,000?
It depends on the type of loan that you get, but 3% to 3.5%. So you want to have about 12 to 15,000 ready to go. But then there are so many other expenses that come along with it, inspections and certain things that happen. So you need about 12 to 15,000 just to get your feet off the ground.
Now, Alyssa, that seems like a much lower percentage of the total price that I'm accustomed to. I would thought you would have said 10%, that they needed a minimum of $33,000. But you're saying for first-time homeowners, there are some loan opportunities out there, mortgage opportunities for homeowners to get into a home with only 3 to 5% down.
Yes.
And now what is that? Does it matter what kind of credit you have? Because we know that's a huge issue when you go to get a mortgage loan. It's not just, I got the $12,000 to $15,000. It's what is your credit score. And we know the credit scoring process in this country, I think, is horrible. If you have too much credit, that's a ding against you. Your credit score is going to be low. Or if you have zero credit, your credit score can also be negatively impacted. And we know that college kids, you're a teacher, so you know this, kids get bombarded with advertisement from credit card companies. And a lot of folks get themselves in trouble in college and they find themselves unable to get out of that debt from credit card. I'm going to raise my hand to that too. I was there as well. So talk to us about credit and how that factors in and what you're seeing, particularly with Black homeowners as it relates to credit.
Credit is extremely important. If your credit score isn't above a 605, then most lenders won't lend to you. And if they do lend to you, the interest rate is going to be sky high. The interest rate is already high by itself. But if your credit score is low, either they won't lend to you or the rate will be sky high to where you're taxed out of being able to really afford your mortgage. One of the things that happened to one person that I was working with, they didn't have the credit score that they wanted. So the lender that I sent to them just said, oh, well, just get a gift from your parent and just get more money so that way you could put down more. And so that way it wouldn't affect the interest rate as much. And that was also a gap because the person that I was working with didn't just have the ability to go to their parent and ask for a gift of $10,000 extra dollars. That's not a possibility for them. So credit is really, really important.
So we know credit, you said 605. What's the highest credit score? Because, we got to put that 605 in perspective. That sounds,
I don't know the highest credit score.
But
I don't know the highest credit score.
605, though, is considered good enough, you're saying, to get most of the mortgages that would be available to first-time home buyers.
That's bare minimum for the lenders that I've worked with.
What are some of the other impediments? You just named something again that was very important. Folks don't have parents. They can't just go to mom, can't go to dad, say, Mom, Dad, give me 10 grand, give me 20 grand to buy a house. What are some of the other issues that you're seeing with respect to Black homeowners in particular? Because this gap is there for a reason. And let's talk about what some of those reasons are. So it might be your credit score, right? You may not have that 605 credit score. It may be lower than that. You may not have that down payment, and you may not have relatives that are sitting on a bunch of cash. So what are some of the other impediments that you've seen?
Some other things that I've seen have been the programs. The programs are great if you know how to use them. Not everyone knows how to use the programs. So for example, before I bought in Maryland, I joined a program in DC. I joined 2 programs. I joined NACA, and then I also joined a program in DC. I went through the process. NACA was nice, but NACA was also very slow. When the housing market is good, it moves fast. So if the market is moving fast, but your program is moving slow, you miss out on your house. Or if you go through a program and don't know how to fully navigate the program, then you don't know the next steps. So then again, you miss out on your house. So between the programs, the credit score, the down payment amounts, the overwhelming idea of a house, it's a lot that impedes.
Where do you even learn about these programs? Because you're saying people have to know how to navigate the program. I venture to say that there are a lot of first-time home buyers or would-be first-time home buyers don't even know about these programs, don't know that they exist, and wouldn't even know where to find one of these programs. So when you're looking for a program, you really have to search. It should be easily available, easy to go through and easy to do, but they are not. You really have to say, in this moment, I'm going to spend 3 hours
looking for programs. And then after you look for the programs, you have to see which ones you actually qualify for. Because a lot of them, they tax you out in a way that it doesn't even make sense. So for example, some programs in DC, they say, if you make over this, then we can't give you the $10,000 that we're offering everyone else. But if you make over that, then you can actually afford the mortgage. So it's really just dedicating time to search for programs.
So you might be in a conundrum where you make too much, so you don't qualify to get the homeowner's assistance, but you need to make enough so that you can afford the mortgage. So you might be in that trap, like they call it, that classic middle class trap.
Yes.
We know, my producer has told me the highest credit score possible is 850. So if you got to have a 650, that seems probably about average. So you don't have to walk in the door with what would be considered pristine credit, that 850 credit score that my producer has. So not everybody is fortunate enough to have 850 credit. And if you're one of those college kids or adults that had to take out, loans or take out student loans, or, you ran up your credit cards for school, you probably don't have 850 credit. But when we come forward after some news, traffic, and sports, we're going to talk about discrimination in the housing market and what role that plays in this widening gap between Black and white home ownership. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Forward.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. That second train derailment in Ohio is not leaving a hazardous spill. Now, while hazmat teams were on the scene of Saturday's derailment near Springfield, the NTSB chair said
none of them breached, and so there wasn't a spill of hazardous materials.
She added that even
after Bolsa Chico Road got a brand new accident. This is blocking the middle lanes. You're going to be on and off the brakes from Beach Boulevard. In Diamond Bar, 57 north out of Grand Avenue, got that crash clearing to the right shoulder. Still slow from Lambert Road, though. Glendale, 134 eastbound at Central Avenue, got a wreck over on the right shoulder. And in Santa Monica on the 10 westbound at 4th Street, that wreck on the right shoulder as well.
Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
UCLA forward Jamie Jaquez Jr. was named Pac-12 Conference Player of the Year. The 6'7" senior is averaging 17.4 points and 8 rebounds. Jaquez is a key reason UCLA is the number 2 team in the country and headed for a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: undefeated South Carolina, Indiana, Utah, LSU, and Maryland. At 32-0, South Carolina is the nation's only unbeaten Division I team in men and women's hoops. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Piece.
Aaron from Original Taco Piece here, inviting you to our newest location at 3272 West Slauson off Crenshaw for Taco Tuesday, only $175. Call 323-348-4441 to order.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. What up, baby? KBLA Talk 1580 welcomes the U.S. premiere of the Bob Marley One Love Experience. Open now through April 23rd at Ovation in Hollywood. Enter to win a pair of VIP tickets on the KBLA app or KBLA1580.com. A One Love Experience poster, vinyl record, and souvenir. This has been a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580.
Our Weekly Los Angeles is the largest audited Black newspaper in the state of California with a distribution of over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune into KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to lunch for 10, sponsored by John O'Groats family-owned restaurant and johnogroats.us. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA1580.com to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. Sponsored by John O'Groats family-owned restaurant and johnogroats.us. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call.
I'm back and I'm speaking with Alyssa Latney. We're talking about the real estate market. We're talking about the widening gap between Black and white homeowners. We're taking your calls in this hour as well. Give us a call at 1-800-920-1580. Again, that's 1-800-920-1580. And if you are watching Areva Martin in real time on YouTube, post a question or a comment. We would love to hear from you. And make sure you download the KBLA app. You can watch and listen to Areva Martin in real time and all of the shows on KBLA all over the globe. Doesn't matter. You could be in my hometown of St. Louis. You could be in Boston, Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Maryland. It doesn't matter. You can catch all of the dynamic shows right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Alyssa, I want to talk about this discrimination number. So in this report that came out that talks about this widening gap between Blacks and white homeowners, they point to the fact that unfortunately, Black folks just don't make as much money, that there's not only a home ownership gap, there's an income gap. And to buy, like you said, it's $330,000 average home, and that's in Baltimore, Maryland. If you were in California, you know, you got to put multipliers of 2 or 3 on that number. A 2-bedroom family house literally could cost you $700,000 to $1 million in places like San Francisco, some parts of Los Angeles. So imagine college students or a young couple, young married couple, or a single parent trying to buy a $700,000 to $1 million home, close to impossible for most families. But let's talk about discrimination. What have you seen in that marketplace as it relates to how African Americans might face discrimination even when trying to purchase a home and to get a mortgage?
I've seen in this area, more so the drive out, DC, you used to just be able to afford. Working in DC, you used to be able to afford. But a lot of people are living in Virginia and then commuting into DC to work to get them more money and then taking that money out into Virginia, out into Maryland. And the money just isn't in DC the way that it was.
That makes it difficult, I would imagine, for commuters, particularly parents. So you've got to commute 45 minutes to an hour. You may have small kids in school. So that's going to dictate, your ability to be there for games and sporting events and concerts and plays and other things. And that's really a disadvantage for many young families in particular. This National Association of Realtors came out with a report, Alyssa, that says you need to earn more than $100,000 per year to purchase a median price home without, going beyond your budget. Are you seeing folks who want to get into the housing market who just can't because they don't have the requisite income?
For sure. That's when I discussed those programs. Those programs are supposed to help you again, but they drive you out because if you make a little bit over, let's say you make 78 and you're by yourself, you make 78 or 80, you think you're doing good. You think maybe you can make it, and then you don't have that assistance from the program. And then if there are two people in the house, let's say there are two people in the household, if those two people make over a certain number, then you can't use those programs. So now there's nothing that I can do to help me get into it. I have to already have the money readily available. And a lot of Black people are just not getting those jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I can't even think of the people I know who make over $100,000 a year. You're basically in the top 5% of income earners in this country. So we're talking about a very small portion of the population that even earns that much. And again, I'm thinking about young people coming out of college. Many of them, will take years, if ever, for them to make that amount. And we ask people to go into professions like teaching and, law enforcement, where making $100,000 may elude you for most of your career if you ever make that kind of money. What happened for you, though, Alyssa, when you became a realtor? How did that change the game for you? Because I know that was a transformative situation for you and really helped you get into your first home.
When I became a realtor, I got the information. So I knew how the market was working. I knew where I wanted to live, and I didn't have anyone driving me into certain areas because even though we say it doesn't happen, it happens every day. But certain people look at you and say, oh, you need to move into this area. So I didn't have anyone.
Well, wait a minute, let's call that what it is. It's redlining, right?
Yes.
It's where these banks and institutions and real estate professionals draw a red line. Literally, that's what they used to do around a certain area and say, Black folks, you're either going to live inside this red line or outside that red line. And what you're saying is today, not 1954, not 1953, but in 2023, that kind of practice is still happening in a city like Baltimore.
And it's happening in different ways. One of the ways that it happens, again, is the idea of the drive out. In certain areas, the prices of the homes are astronomical. And they're so high that if you don't make a certain amount, and if you don't have two people, then it's not possible at all for you to even look in that area. Mm-hmm. So they drive you out and then they put you in these certain areas. So with me being a real estate agent, I was able to see the areas that I wanted to live in and then decide on how I wanted to spend my money.
And what do you tell your clients today, many that may have been in that situation where a realtor, a non-African American, a non-minority realtor did just what you described, this drive out where they took them to an area basically saying, you can only live here, knowing that this is an area that, may have high crime, may not have a good school system, may not have access to grocery stores and other amenities. Have you seen that situation? And what have you told those people?
I would more so just be happy that they didn't settle. And it's not settling as in this isn't an area for you. It's really settling with these are the only options that they're providing for you. I'm glad you thought that you had more options. So you decided to not stick with them and go with someone else.
Yeah, and another issue we see in this report is just full of so much information about this gap between the Black and white homeownership. They talk about African Americans continuing to have the highest denial rates for mortgage loans among all racial groups. And that's according to the Home Mortgage Disclosures Act. That's data that was provided by the National Association of Realtors. It's 20% of loan applicants who are Black get denied, compared with only 11% of white applicants. Have you seen that happen, where you have what should otherwise be a qualified buyer, qualified Black buyer, whose loan application is just flat out denied?
I haven't seen it happen personally, but one of the reasons that I can think that it's happening is because of the idea of income as well as their credit score. Let's say, for example, I have a high credit score, but I don't make that much money. So because I have a high credit score, but let's say I want to go in on the application with my significant other. I want to use both of our incomes, which will help us, but my significant other may not have a high credit score. So now their credit score is affecting it because I want to use my credit score with both of our income, but it won't work that way. You need double great credit scores and double perfect income.
Yeah, when we come forward, Alyssa, I want you to give the viewers and the listeners some tips on what they can do to get ready, because obviously if you're thinking about buying a home, it's not something you can just wake up, one day and say, hey, I'm gonna buy a home, unless you have equity, unless you have wealthy parents, unless you have a wealthy partner, or, unless you inherited some money or somehow you've gotten your hands on a big stash of cash. But if you are the average, American, an everyday American that has a job, a good job, you're handling your business and you want to buy a house, you've got to get ready. You've got to do some preparation. You've got to do some planning. This has to be a premeditated process in order for you to be successful, given all the hurdles that are built into our system that unfortunately has pervasive systemic racism dating back hundreds of years, really. So we're going to talk to Alyssa about what you can do to get ready to make that first home purchase. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
On KBLA Talk 1580.
Black women get the job done. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. Story courtesy of CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Representative Barbara Lee holds her first campaign rally at Laney College in Oakland, California, declaring, "We fight for freedom, dignity, justice, and together we win." Representative Lee said that that's why she's running for U.S. Senate. She is the highest-ranking African-American woman in the U.S. Congress and the only African-American so far in the 2024 California senatorial race. Lee, who is 76, is serving her 12th term in the U.S. Congress. I'm Maisha Cairo for KBLA 1580, and that's your K-Black Minute News.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com. California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a whole lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today, I was able to speak with Ola Wadibia, VP of Women on the Move. Hi, Ola. Tell me a bit about this initiative by JP Morgan Chase, founded in 2013.
Women on the Move is a center of excellence at JP Morgan Chase in our global DEI organization, where we really focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What's really awesome about Chase's approach is that all of our centers of excellence, and there are 7 of them, focus on different demographic groups, is that we're really focusing on what's happening internally in the firm and also what's happening out in community. So really, Women on the Move is really focused on thinking about how do we help advance women professionally and personally.
I love it. So tell me about this beautifully updated banking branch here on Crenshaw.
That was really important. A part of our racial equity commitment was to build in place for Chase. So being able to revamp this beautiful space, to be able to welcome community members, today anyone, nonprofit, organization, school can actually do events in our community center that we're sitting in here for free. Yes, people come inside, grab a coffee, use the Wi-Fi. It's free.
Yes, Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
I'm back with Alyssa Latney. She is a teacher that figured out how to purchase her first home. She decided not to use a traditional real estate broker, but to become a real estate broker herself. And by jumping into the real estate market in the way that she did, she was able to purchase a home outside the Maryland, or outside of the Baltimore area in Maryland. And she was featured in a New York Times article. And now I want her to share with us some tips for any first-time home buyer, anyone out there that's thinking about buying a home. Alyssa, what advice do you have for them, both as a first-time home buyer yourself and as a professional real estate broker? So you're coming at this from 2 different perspectives. What do you say to those folks who are wanting to make that leap and jump into home ownership?
As a realtor, I'm going to say start saving your money now. Save as much as you can. Now, don't overwhelm yourself with saving, but save now. I'm also going to say, start asking people questions. Some people don't know where to start, and the best place to start is looking for a lender. And don't just go with the first lender that's there. Ask your bank, ask the bank that's not yours, ask the credit union, call random mortgage companies, call and ask them every question that you can think of. Also, when it comes to your credit, go to those banks and ask them, if my credit isn't great, can you give me a credit strategy so that way I can boost my credit score? Ask them for strategies. They know how to do it. They do it every single day. Some people think if I pay off my whole credit, I pay off the credit card, I'm good, and that's not what's best. You should pay it to a certain point. It should be 80-20. 80% paid off, 20% is what you actually use. And you got to keep it at that leverage so that way it actually builds your credit. I'm going to say, start talking to real estate agents, interview them, ask them questions. One of the great things about me becoming a realtor is now people in my family and people that are my friends that I didn't even know were thinking about it or may not have been thinking about it have started to think about it. So just ask people questions, start saving your money, and then interview everyone that you want to work with. Everyone who you're getting ready to work with, you're getting ready to give them a paycheck. Make them earn that paycheck. Don't be scared to ask anyone any questions at all. It's really just asking questions and saving your money. Because some of the realtors that you know, may know programs that I may not know about. So you may want to go work with them because they know how to work this program in a way that I've never even thought of. Ask everyone as many questions as possible.
I love the advice you just gave about credit, because credit is tricky. And people may listen to their friends, they may listen to their relatives, but when it comes to fixing your credit score or increasing your credit score, you need to talk to a credit professional. What happened and what worked for your friend may not have any relevance whatsoever to your credit situation. So you need to talk to somebody that is a professional that can look at your entire credit history. And as Alyssa said, give you advice, because you're right. A lot of folks think, let me pay off my credit cards. Let's get everything down to zero. And the way credit works in our country, and I think it's the wrong way to work, but the way it currently works is you get dinged for not having credit. You have to build credit, and to build credit, they want to see that you have credit and that you are reliable, that you pay your bills on time. And you got to have a whole strategy for that. Like, when do you pay your bills? You know, some people think, well, I wait till the 30th day, and they don't know that the day and the timing of your payments can also negatively impact your credit. So you got to do some homework, which is what Alyssa is saying, and you got to do it with professionals that know what they're talking about and what they're doing. You can't listen to your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, particularly if they haven't been through it. Now, if they're experienced and they know what's going on, they definitely can give you some advice. We got a caller, Gwen. She's a realtor from LA. Go ahead, Gwen, you're on the air. You want to chime in?
My name is Gwen Allen. I work with R.S. Cooper & Associates Realty, and I appreciate your comments and also the topic that you're talking about on Black home ownership and the disparity that exists, and that's across the nation. But I did want to add something, in that when you're looking for a realtor to help you, a realtor, there is an organization that I'm a part of called the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And it's a minority organization that basically helps Black people become homeowners. So I know that, you know, gentrification is going on, a lot of things are happening in this market. So it's great to choose someone that will basically cater to your needs, cater to the areas that you have to buy in, according to your income, according to what you're looking for as far as your family is concerned. So I would just like to add that when you're looking for a realtor, you should basically go to our website, and that's the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And the short name is NAREB. N like Nancy, A like Apple, R like Robert, E like Edward, B like Booker.com.
Thank you so much, Gwen. Thanks for weighing in. Great information. And thank you, Alyssa, for having the courage, for being a lifelong learner. I'm like you. I got a bunch of degrees like you. I know a whole lot, but there's a whole lot that I don't know. And the best way to find out something that you don't know is to ask a professional. Ask someone who knows that information. They don't have to have a bunch of letters behind their names to be a professional, but they do need to have some kind of experience or expertise. And when you're buying a home, this might be your biggest asset ever. This may be the biggest purchase you will ever make in your life. You want to make sure you get it right. I don't know if you saw this, Alyssa, but I saw a bunch of articles where people bought homes during COVID and a lot of buyer's remorse. Folks were buying houses, they were foregoing inspections. They weren't going through the normal escrow time period. They weren't doing their due diligence. They were just kind of, making these quick purchases. And many of them regretted it. They bought homes that had lots of defects, that required a lot of work to get up to par. So don't rush. This is not a decision you want to rush through. You want to take your time. You want to do your due diligence. You want to work with professionals like Alyssa, like Gwen, like others in your community, because this, as I said, not only is it probably going to be your biggest purchase, it's going to be your biggest asset. And this is why white folks have more equity and income than Black folks, is because home ownership is the single most significant way that most Americans build wealth. They build wealth. Those homes appreciate and you have equity in those homes. You can borrow out of those homes and start businesses. You can fund your kids' college education. You can do so much to create your family legacy through home ownership. So during Women's History Month, this is a shout out to all those homeowners like Alyssa who have made that jump, who have invested in themselves, invested in their families, and invested in their communities. We see you, we're proud of you, and we salute you. And thank you so much, Alyssa, for lifting up your story and for helping others, like you said, in your family and in your community. Be well, my friend, and keep building that wealth, because your first home is definitely puts you on the track and on the pathway to building generational wealth. That's what we're talking about here, generational wealth. Thanks to everyone who joined me today. I am out. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 4 o'clock, Areva Martin in real time with trending news, expert analysis, my unfiltered opinions, and my new segment, the United States of America versus Mark Ridley Thomas. Our justice correspondent, Dion Raymond, will be in the house, giving us, again, gavel-to-gavel coverage of that trial that has captured Los Angeles, captured the state of California, and I dare say captured the nation. We're going to make sure you get the latest, what's happening inside that courtroom. We know opening statements start tomorrow, and we're going to get to, hopefully Dion will be able to give us some insight into those lawyers. I always like to know, what the lawyers are like, what their demeanor is like, what their tone is like. Are they aggressive? Are they more laid back? Because that could tell us a lot about the kind of case that they're going to put on. So make sure you join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. Download the app. Check us out on YouTube. Listen to us on your drive home. It's Areva Martin in real time. Follow me on all social media platforms at Areva Martin. And stay with us, because after some news, sports, and traffic, the next voice that you will hear will be that of Robin Ayers and the Ra Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580.